meeting, September 10th, 2020. This meeting is being held via video conference and is streaming live at henrycounty/ga.org, Facebook, and Spectrum Channel 180 for public viewing. If you wish to participate in the conference, please provide your full name, phone number, Zoom user ID, and the case you wish to speak on. Please list if you wish to speak in favor or opposition of a case. A total of 10 minutes will be allowed for anyone wishing to speak in favor of a case, beginning with the applicant, and 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. We will now hear the invocation and pledge by Ms. Susan King.
Please bow your heads and we'll pray together. Gracious God and Heavenly Father, we thank you for your presence in our lives and in our county tonight. We thank you for the opportunity that we can share using this great technology while we have this coronavirus pandemic going on and we're not able to meet together in person. And so we ask that you keep this meeting running smoothly and that we have clarity in all of the cases and that everyone has an opportunity to express and voice their opinions and good decisions for the outcome. And we pray all of these things in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. And together we can say the pledge as well. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. This meeting is now called to order. I understand that there is an amendment to the agenda, and staff, I would like to hear that amendment prior to getting a acceptance of the agenda.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. What we would like is for the Zoning Advisory Board to consider amending the agenda to set a more orderly order of cases. What we would like is for the cell tower, wireless communications facilities cases to be grouped together after the Hill Oxford 1 conditional use, CU 2001, with the cell tower conditional use coming first. So, Mr. Chair, if the Zoning Advisory Board is pleased to do that, the order would be Gas Express Petroleum under variance. And then it would be Hill Oxford 1 conditional use. And then City Switch AT&T conditional use. And then City Switch AT&T variance. And then Tim Jones Properties rezoning. And we think that this is a better arrangement just for the sake of order and also because we've had a lot of interest in Hill Oxford 1 and we want to be able to hear that expeditiously.
Okay, thank you, staff. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended per staff recommendation?
So moved.
Have a motion.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the agenda as staff recommendation. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, at this time, staff, do we have any housekeeping?
Mr. Chair, the only thing that may be different about tonight's meeting is that for conditional use for the cell tower, Henry County does have our radio frequency consultant that will be presenting that case, and representing Omnicom Consulting is Mr. Chris Monzingo. And so Mr. Monzingo is representing staff tonight to present this report.
Okay. And Ms. Trimble, I understand that to move things smoothly, you have a recommendation?
Yes, sir. People have signed up. I do have a lot of feedback from participants this evening, but if you have not identified yourself in the chat, I need you to do so at this time. I also need you to include the case number or the address of the property that you are speaking or wanting to participate for. If you'll include that information for me in the chat, I'm going to remove everyone from the meeting and only allow the cases that we are actually presenting at each time.
Okay. And Mr. Pete, due to some of the concerns tonight, I asked that, will you be a timekeeper for me, please?
Sure,
Okay.
no problem.
All
Thanks.
right, thank you very much. With that being said, let's move forward with the first case.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. That is under variance BR 2009, Gas Express Petroleum of Locust Grove, Georgia. Request of variance from development standards for property located at 3010 Bill Gardner Parkway in land lots 210 and 211 of the 2nd District. The property consists of 1.1 plus or minus acres, and the request is for relief from signage regulations in District 1. And the staff report is presented by Stacy Jordan Rudisil, Chief Planner. Mr. Chair, at this time, I need to share screen, but I need approval of the host to be able to share screen.
That's been approved.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
The subject property is located on the southeast corner of the intersection of Highway 155 South and Bill Gardner Parkway. This property is a part of a commercial development that has all together received a development permit approval. And this development consists of at least 3 properties, but the corner property is the only property that is before the Zoning Advisory Board tonight for action. The request is specifically regarding the signage that is regulated on the subject property. As you can tell in the exhibits, this property is Zone C2. It's also located within Henry County's Highway Corridor Overlay District. And this makes a great deal of difference for the applicant, as the overlay has higher and more stringent standards than the county-wide ordinance. So together, ordinances require a master sign plan for all of the properties that are located within this commercial development. And the applicant seems to be requesting to not have to comply with this requirement. Also, a second ground sign is being proposed and requested, which is not supported by the county-wide sign ordinance. This may be something that could be considered in a master sign plan if we go through this required process. Also, the overlay limits the size of ground signs to 50 square feet. The applicant is proposing 2 ground signs at approximately 132 square feet. Also, the applicant is requesting to increase the number of wall signs. The proposal seems to indicate a gas station and an associated tenant space. So this would be considered a multiple business development. As such, the number of wall signs is limited to 1 per business. And this would include the canopy. Together with the canopy signs, which number 4, according to the applicant's request, as well as the wall signs that are indicated to be placed on the building, that totals 8. However, the applicant does not seem to indicate wall signage for the tenant space. So in actuality, they would likely need to have more than 8. Also, the applicant seems to be requesting approval for permanent poster sign fixtures, also referred to as point of display or point of sale signage. And this signage would or approximate 9 square feet. The county ordinance allows for stake signage, which doesn't require permits, but they're limited to 3. And so this would exceed the 3 by 5, and also it would exceed the limitation on stake signs by 1 square foot. The canopy signage sizes are not available at this time. And as we mentioned before, the wall signage for the tenant space is not illustrated. And because of this, staff was not able to calculate the aggregate signable area. But again, the master sign plan would allow for a limited amount of flexibility. So whereas administratively, staff would not be able to accommodate all of this signage, we would be able to work with the applicant to approve a master sign plan that would allow the flexibility for all of the parcels in this development, this commercial development. In your exhibit packs, and as illustrated, it does show the location of the 2 proposed ground signs. It also shows a rendering of the large ground sign, which exceeds the square footage limitation. It also shows the location of the building wall signs, but not the wall signage for the tenant space. And it shows the proposed signage for the canopy, which it may be difficult to tell in the exhibit, but in the upper right-hand corner, it indicates that there are 4 signs that are proposed for the canopy. Additionally, it shows the point of sale or point of purchase signage in the middle of this exhibit. Our evaluation is that the applicant's need for the additional signage could be addressed to a limited extent administratively through the master sign process that is required. And we would note that this master sign plan process does require the participation of all the other lots in this commercial development as well. That is by design, so that the signage that could be approved will be uniform in design. Also, this master sign plan would go very far in making sure that nothing is overlooked, such as the wall signage for the tenant space. And lastly, I would just like to reiterate that the master sign plan would not allow for the entire amount of signage that's being proposed, but it does allow for staff to consider requests such as this on a limited basis. Staff does recommend denial of the applicant's request. And Mr. Chair, I'd be pleased to answer questions.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have questions for staff?
Yes, for the staff, do you know who would be responsible for the master sign plan?
Yes, sir, Mr. VM. Typically, it's the property owner before the development is sold off into individual owners that would bring this master sign plan to staff for approval. The ordinance does not allow us to charge to evaluate a master sign plan, and it does allow for flexibility. So it is an excellent tool besides being required by the ordinance. If the master sign plan is not approved by staff before the property is divided up into separate ownership, then all of the various owners will need to coordinate to come together to staff for us to evaluate and to approve their master signed plan.
Okay.
Okay. Any additional questions for staff? If there's no additional questions, we would like to bring the applicant forward, please.
I'm here, sir. It's Rasheen on behalf of Gas Express Petroleum.
Okay. Will you state your name and address for the record? And do you have anything additional that you would like to add to staff recommendation?
Yes, sir. My name is Rasheen Patel. I currently reside at 2781 Bethesda Court in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I would like to add a couple of points here that the staff had made and talked about. And I had mentioned this on our LOI as well. It seems to be, there seems to be a little bit of a miscommunication on back and forth. But we were not made aware of this master sign plan, and we are only part of this development. We're only the gas station part of this development as we have proposed. The other thing is we had also looked at the rendering that was shown, and the signs that we had proposed are 129 square feet and not 132. Obviously, we also have a competitive disadvantage against our competition that's across the street from us, who has bigger, taller sign than what we are allowed and permitted. And thus we were looking at getting into a variance. Obviously, this puts us at a really big disadvantage and not be able to market and do what we need to in the county's jurisdiction.
Okay. Does the board have questions for the applicant?
Yes. Have you talked with the other owners or the other people that would be in the development to see about coming up with a master plan for the site?
We would be happy to, but at this point, we have not communicated with them or talked to them about it. But if that's something that the county is willing to work with us, then we can certainly talk to others on the lot. Yes.
Okay.
Any additional questions for the applicant? If there is no additional questions, we would like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor of this case. Karis, do we have anyone in the waiting room?
I believe Mr. Braun is with us. Braun?
We'd like
T.
to.
Braun? Give me
Okay.
1 second. Give me 1 second, Chairman.
Okay.
Is Braun, can you hear me? T. Braun?
Hello?
Yes, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Is this Mr. Braun?
This is Mr. Patel. Is this a different ID that's being used on the Zoom account?
Okay. Do you have anything additional that you would like to add in favor of this case?
No, I do not, but I do fully support Mr. Patel from Gas Express Petroleum.
Okay. Okay, if there's no one else coming forward to speak in favor of the case, we'd like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition.
I don't believe we have one. We don't have anyone for opposition.
Okay. Does the board have additional questions for the applicant?
I have one for the staff.
Okay.
At this point, would it be better to table this motion for variance or deny? Because I think there should be a master plan in place so you can see what flexibility you could get.
Mr. Beam, we would recommend that the zoning advisory board go forward with action tonight. A master sign plan is simply required, and we do, as staff, believe that we could address many of the applicant's concerns, although on a limited basis. But it doesn't warrant, in our opinion, our professional recommendation that it be tabled tonight, but rather we would request that the zoning advisory board go ahead and take action. And I'd just like to take the opportunity for the record to state that the Unified Land Development Code, our zoning code, does not allow for the existence of legal non-conforming uses in the area to be justification for the granting of a variance. So we do recommend denial of the applicant's request.
Okay.
I do have one thing to add, sir, if Chairman allows.
Okay, move forward. Go ahead.
We do have a second drawing that we would like to present to the board if acceptable. Maybe I can share my screen, and that is much more closer to the codes that are put in forward for the highway corridor. But I would like to add a couple of more points that to my statement earlier is we have been complying with the county's code on the highway corridor. We have done quite a lot of extra construction work at the site compared to other developments around us. And we have, for instance, we have done the highway corridor lighting, the C-store, roofing, awning, etc. We have also added a 10-foot landscape strip that obviously none of the other neighboring businesses has. So we are willing to work with the county on this project if they allow. And I can also share another drawing that we have prepared for the board if the board is willing to take a look at it.
Okay. Now, did you actually present this drawing to staff?
No, sir. This was a very last minute thing that we had come up with just to kind of show our support towards the county to see some willingness to work.
I understand. I can't make a recommendation. However, that is something that I would have preferred that it be presented to the board prior to this point. So I would like to move forward with the meeting. Does the board have any additional questions for the applicant or staff? Any additional questions for the applicant or staff? Okay, if not, we'd like to call the case, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. BR 2009, Gas Express Petroleum of Locust Grove, Georgia, requests a variance from development standards for property located at 3010 Bill Gardner Parkway, and land lots 210 and 211 of the second district. The property consists of 1.10 plus or minus acres, and the request is for relief from signage regulations in District 1.
Okay, we've heard the case. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to deny the variance request by Gas Express Petroleum from development regulations for property located at 3010 Bill Gardner Parkway.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion carries. Okay. Stacy, prior to calling the next case, I know we have the next case coming up, but prior to calling that case, I'd like to just make a quick announcement that I understand there's a lot of people waiting to speak on this case, but again, we are only going 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition of that case or in favor of the case. Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if you will make your announcement once more, I'm going to admit more people. So you'll make that announcement once more as soon as I get more people into the meeting, please.
Okay. I'll wait for you and we'll move forward.
Okay. And then we'll keep it on speaker view. Okay, Chairman Nelson, we have everybody admitted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. I would like to emphasize that we will be allowing 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor of this case or 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. We've heard from quite a few of you via email and we understand your concern. So if you have a spokesperson that would like to speak or use up a portion of your time, that's okay. But again, we'll only be allowing 10 minutes to speak in favor or in opposition. With that being said, we'd like to go ahead and call the case, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Under conditional use, GU 2001, Hill Oxford 1 LLC of Columbus, Ohio, requests a conditional use for property located at 55 Country Road Circle in land lot 132 of the 12th district. The property consists of 0.60 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a personal care home. This is District 5, and the report is presented by Kenta Lanham, Planner 2.
Ms. King?
Yes, I'll take for you. Cover for you.
Good evening, Chair and board members. Oh, and let me share screen real quick. Can everyone see that screen, the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Good evening, Chair and board members. The conditional use request in front of you is for property located at 55 Country Road Circle. That's highlighted in your exhibit books as well as on the screen. The property is family residence and is 0.60 plus or minus acres. The applicant is requesting a conditional use to allow for a non-home occupation personal care home at this property. This property was rezoned along with the rest of the subdivision in 1972 from RA 200 to R100 with no conditions. With the adoption of the ULDC in 2009, it was rezoned to R2 on septic. For non-home occupation personal care homes, those are allowed in any residentially zoned property with an approved conditional use subject to the standards mentioned under Chapter 4, Section 40319. Non-home occupation personal care homes allow for up to 6 clients. As per our ULDC, a personal care home is defined as a single home where personal care services are provided to no more, again, 6 non-family adults. Such services can include assistance with eating, bathing, grooming, and etc. A care home cannot provide nursing or other medical services, or admit or retain residents who need continuous medical or nursing care. We have 2 additional uses that are sometimes grouped in with personal care homes. Sometimes the lines between them can blend a little bit. In our ULDC, we have assisted living facilities, which are different in that they allow more than 6 clients and provide individual living units, which can include kitchen facilities. Group homes are different in that individuals living at the property are under supervision of a resident manager. They're established to assist persons who have left highly structured institutions such as hospitals or prisons to adjust and re-enter society. Now, the former of those 2, assisted living and group homes, they are allowed in a select few zoning district. The R2 zoning district is not included in that list, in that short list. Those 2 uses also require additional approval through a conditional use and subsequently meetings such as this one. Approval of this particular request, this request for personal care home, will not allow the property to be used for assisted living facility, halfway house, orphanage, hospice facility, or a group home or anything else. Only a personal care home. As indicated in their letter of intent, the services provided at this location will cater to adults with intellectual or development disabilities, for example, autism, Down syndrome, and any other cognitive difficulties. Staff received a number of calls regarding this property, as well as a couple written letters and emails voicing their opposition to the request. The writer of one such letter in particular is unable to speak at this meeting due to health concerns, but is in attendance. A form from the Environmental Health Department dated June 24th, 2020. This form is standard for all conditional use requests that are on properties on septic. But that form commented on the existing septic system, stating that the on-site sewage management system is adequate for 3 residents and 1 employee per shift. Staff has evaluated the request in several aspects of the site, and given this criteria of conditional uses and the characteristics of the request, staff believes there is a reasonable basis for granting the conditional use request to allow for a non-home occupation personal care home. As such, staff recommends approval of the request with 5 conditions. I do want to mention that staff has strengthened our recommendations for approval since the report was originally posted on the website. This addition, this strengthened recommendation comes from the form of additional conditions that are displayed on the screen. Thank you, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Kenta. Does the board have any questions for staff?
Yes, I have one question. Now, Cantor, what normal conditions would allow for a personal care home in this neighborhood?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
What conditions would allow for a normal conditions that would allow for a personal care home in this particular neighborhood?
So personal care homes are allowed in the R2 zoning district subject to supplemental standards under Chapter 4, Section 403.
I'm sorry, you're muted.
Sorry.
Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Hey, listen, can we do this? Can all of our board members mute themselves unless they're talking?
Yeah.
And Karis, if you can, whoever's controlling the board, if there's somebody out there in the audience, can you please mute that? Because I keep hearing it, so it's really pulling away from people hearing stuff. So if we can mute all until somebody wants to speak, that'd be an amazing thing, because right now it's just distracting.
Yes, sir, Mr. Peterson. If all participants will mute themselves and remain muted until it is the time for public comment, we can continue with the meeting.
Okay. So yes, personal care homes are allowed under the R2 zoning district so long as they comply with Chapter 4, Section 40319. We allow non-home occupation personal care homes in the R2 zoning district with an approved conditional use. That conditional use can only allow up to 6 clients.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? DeLander?
No, not at this point.
Anyone else? If not, we'll ask the applicant to please step forward. Is the applicant
Hello,
here?
everyone.
Hi.
Yep,
Please,
I'm here.
your name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Andrew Parker, address 171 North Aberdeen, Chicago, Illinois. And just to confirm, you can hear me, right?
Correct. Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to speak here today. And I want to start by saying thank you to the neighbors in the neighborhood who, for the past few weeks, have been cutting the grass at this house, which was a oversight on our potential tenants' part to cut the grass. So we are on top of that now, but I appreciate that. And I know some of you are on this call right now. So my name is Andrew Parker. I am the CEO of a company that's called Nested, N-E-S-T-I-D-D. What we do is we are a real estate company. We own and lease single family residences, such as this one in question, to licensed care agencies. These care agencies are licensed by Medicaid. In the case of this home, the incoming care agency who would operate the house is licensed by the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, the Georgia Department of Community Health, and CMS, the Center for Medicaid Services. And these, so my company is not the care agency. We are the owner of the house. So that's why I'm here today as the applicant. Our client, the tenant, has 3 individuals who are adults with intellectual developmental disabilities who would like to live in this home, and our client identified this house as a good space for those 3 individuals. Those individuals have to date lived. I don't know the name. You know, that's our client's business, is who those 3 people are in particular. But I know that in order for them to live in this home with our clients, watching them and taking care of them, that they need to that I know that they will have disabilities, and that their alternative living is either at their home with their family. Often they have aging parents who are looking for a long-term solution for their children to live, or these are 20, 23, 25, 26, 30-year-olds who, just like you and me when they're 25, 26, 30, don't want to live with their parents anymore. They want to live out in the community, and this home is a place that they're excited to be in and is accessible for them. And they asked us to purchase the house, which we did. And we applied for the conditional use permit as the owner of the home. I won't take the full 10 minutes because I know there'll be questions, and I'm happy to answer them. To a couple of comments or issues that might come up that I'll try to address right off the bat. One is traffic and parking. There will be staff at the home. My company owns hundreds of homes like this throughout the country. There's 160,000 of these houses throughout the United States. So this is not an unusual situation. I'm sure there are several in the area. And the activities of the home tend to not be any more, there's not necessarily more or less traffic coming and going. Often there's less because the individuals are staying home more than your typical house. There's no healthcare being provided at the home. This is simply a place where the individuals live, and they have a staff person there to supervise them, help them make sure they get food, and help them get bathed and washed up and get into bed, and help them learn skills and learn the things that they want to do. So that is why I'm here. Happy to answer questions. I've spoken to a few of you who gave me a call. The applicant is Hill Oxford One LLC, which is an entity that's owned by Nested, my company. So I will defer now to the next stage of the proceedings, but appreciate everyone having me here.
All right, thank you, Mr. Parker. Does any of the board members have any questions for the applicant?
Yes.
Yes, I have a few.
Mr. Grisham?
Go ahead, Mr. Rich.
Yes, Mr. Parker. Now, you said that your company owns several hundred homes that that you've acquired, or are all of these homes are they all going to be personal care homes, or just a few?
No, sir. They're personal care homes is a term that Henry County uses in its zoning rules, and I believe the state of Georgia, but the terminology and the definitional differences that Kenta was describing earlier differ from state to state. So I think we have houses in 13 different states. In some cases that they are called personal care homes. In some cases they're called community living arrangements, and they have different types of definitions. But to answer your question, they are all similar to this. There's 3 or 4 individuals who live there, and we lease the home to a care agency.
Okay, one other question. Do you have a service provider that is a company, who is licensed by the state of Georgia, through the Department of Behavioral Health to actually manage the home? Of course, certainly your real estate company would not do that. It would have to be done by an authorized, company through the state of Georgia and through the local area service provider, which is the McIntosh Trail Organization. And I was wondering if you had been in contact McIntosh Trail, and if they have approved, some company to operate this home.
By operate this home, do you mean maintain and
Yes,
take care of
staff
the
it,
house?
keep it up.
Yes.
Take care
Yes.
of all the clients. Yes.
Yep, we have, and they are licensed by the state of Georgia. They've cleared this house geographically with the DVHDD, and all of the other requirements are met. Other than and they were met as of March or April, and this is the last step.
Okay. Could you tell us who that is?
Yeah, the organization is called Diamonds in the Rough. They've been in business since 2008. They operate several of these types of houses. I'm not sure how many, all in the greater Atlanta area.
Okay, I've not heard of that company, but there is a company that's from New York that is a maintenance, company, and that came up, through the internet, but no company by that name that takes care of homes that are provided to take care of people with developmental disabilities.
Well, this company that's what they do. They take care of people with developmental disabilities. They're a licensed Medicaid care agency, and we're leasing the house to them, and they will be responsible for keeping the lawn in check and fixing the dishwasher when it's broken. My company does that in a lot of cases. So if they fail to do so, we will certainly do it. But the company that we're leasing to is certainly licensed and approved by the relevant bodies. I'm not familiar with the McIntosh Trail, but our tenant I know is licensed by the relevant authorities here.
Okay, but we don't know who it is.
Diamonds in the Rough is the name of the organization.
That's all I have for the moment.
Okay. All right. I have a question. Mr. Parker, you indicated earlier that this property was purchased with the intent of starting a personal care home. Now, were you aware that it did not meet the requirements at that point?
Yes, we were.
Okay. And what were your intent if it doesn't, if the board doesn't approve it?
Well, if the board doesn't approve it today, we'll certainly try the avenues that are available to us to make this available. We believe that it should be approved, and these three individuals, we're hired. Our job is to sort of protect their rights to be able to live in the community, just like everyone else. So we'll explore all those avenues. If for some reason at the end of the day, after those avenues are explored, it's not approved, then we're going to own the home, and we'll have to decide what to do with it. We may sell it. We may lease it on the market to another tenant that doesn't require this conditional use permit.
Okay. And how long have your company owned the property at this point?
We purchased it, I believe, in the beginning of March or late February.
Okay.
Of this year.
Now, you also indicated that the neighbors were taking care of the property. So why is that?
Well, they were taking care of the lawn, yeah. So it's because we were originally on this. It's an oversight, is why. So we appreciate them helping us out. We were originally on the meeting for this conditional use. I think the meeting was in June or July. We were originally on before that. Then the Corona hit. Then we were on in June or July, and then we didn't have the proper water letter that we needed from the authority, so we got pushed back, and we had the contracts in place to take care of the home through that first meeting. And then when the virus hit and we got pushed down to we ended up being in this meeting in September. We didn't confirm with the tenant that they were aware they had to extend that contract. So
Okay.
we heard about that a couple weeks ago, and we jumped on it right away, but it was an oversight.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any other questions for the applicant? Board? No? All right. If not,
Hold on.
yep. Hang on.
Hold on.
That's for the board. If you would please mute, can you mute? Mute, please. If there are no additional questions from board members for the applicant right now, we'll open the floor for 10 minutes for anyone who would like to speak in favor of this case. 10 minutes. Karis, do we have anyone signed up to speak in favor?
No, ma'am.
All right, then we'll move on. We'll open the floor. 10 minutes for those who would like to speak in opposition, and I'm going to hold you to that time of 10 minutes. I know Pete's watching it. I've got a stopwatch here as well. However, I know there's quite a few of you that do want to speak. If you have one person that is going to take up most of the time, that's okay to speak for you. If not, I'll open the floor. You have 10 minutes for anyone who would like to speak in opposition. First up, please state your name and your address for the record.
So Vice Chair, we're going to start with Mr. Jeff Atkins.
Yes, ma'am. Am I on?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You are.
Okay. All right. As the property owner directly adjacent to this property, yes, we have been cutting the grass for months, a 5 or 6 month oversight on the part of this gentleman, Mr. Parker, who I don't know him from Adam. When we tried to find out who Diamonds in the Rough were and find some kind of history on them, whether they had had problems with their management, patients leaving the property as we see on TV sometimes, or other problems in the community, we found nothing on them. Neither through another person in our community did they acknowledge knowing anything about the property. I noticed a lot of him and hawing from him, which should have been a free-flowing statement, but indeed we did not get that. I have a prepared statement. A lot of it's been covered as far as the septic system and the number of occupants. Let's see what else. I'm sorry, but a lot of it has been done. We are worried about traffic in the subdivision. We don't know how many people will be driving in and out. As it is, there's one way in and one way out. And as for the current situation, the traffic is benign, mostly people going to and from their homes. We don't know if the increased traffic, the noticed increased traffic, where there'll be malignant or malevolent people coming into our neighborhoods for purposes other than what this place was intended for. Basically, that's about all I have. We know that it is a nonprofit, supposedly Diamonds in the Rough, but this parent company is a for-profit company. I'm sorry, and I don't know how that's going to work as well. That's all I have to say. I yield my time to anybody else who has anything else. We are not in favor of this coming to our neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Karis, you have another resident?
Miss Tansy.
Yes, I have a concern in regards to whether or not the individuals will be held to the rules and who's going to monitor that they are adhering to the rules. That's the first question that I have. The second question is in regards to the individuals with the different types of disabilities. Can you repeat what those disabilities were? And then the last thing is I am opposed against this this housing or community assistance.
All right, thank you. This actually is not a place for question and answers, but we can circle around and perhaps revisit at the end. I thank you. Thank you for your input. Karis, you have someone else?
Miss Varville. Miss Varville, we cannot hear you. If you can unmute yourself, please.
Yes, I'm at 30 Country Place Court. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. My concern is, as long as this gentleman, Mr. Parker, was talking, and I thought it was rather presumptuous that you come into a neighborhood that's a nice, quiet, and a stable community without telling anybody, you purchase a house, and now you want to ram it down our throat and tell us that, oh, well, because of COVID, this and that and the other thing. I think it is just a poor excuse. You have no idea what this is going to do this community as far as safety, the traffic, who's going to come and go. We have a lot of seniors in this area, and it has been a quiet neighborhood. That's the only reason we bought here. I don't think the house is big enough for that many people. I don't know what you expect. Just to come into a neighborhood and buy where we have all these houses and everything, and then think that we're just going to let you do whatever you darn well please. Why don't you find a house that has its own property without close neighborhoods? And then you can do a circular driveway so they can come and go and do whatever you darn well please. Okay? What about the security? What about who's going to take care of these people that have these disabilities? You can't just have one person. I know disabled people, they need a lot of care. What is it going to do to the people around here? What say you?
Ma'am, this is not an opportunity for question and answers. It perhaps would be better if you were to frame your comments as comments rather than questions. That's fine if you're finished, and we may revisit and come back and try to get some of those questions.
Against it.
Okay, thank you.
So are my neighbors against it.
All righty, thank you. Karis, you have someone else?
Mr. Garrison.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
My opinion is going to be quick so I can yield time to the others. The collective of our neighborhood is against this proposal. As gathered from past history, we will impact many factors of our community family, some of which are safety, value of our homes, as well as possible opening of other types of homes in our community if this passes. The lack of sufficient notification to our neighborhood, besides those right around it, and the 10 minutes provided to present our case is unfair disadvantage to the taxpaying citizens of our county. And with that, I'm going to yield to others, but we are definitely against it. And there's a lot of, I'm speaking for a lot of the neighbors in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Karis?
Miss Arnold.
Yes, I am totally against the personal care home being located. I've had personal experience, not with this particular company, but with personal care homes being located in neighborhoods. And once that doesn't work out, they end up renting the property out, and it just turns into a complete total disaster. So I'm totally against it.
All right, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add? You're done.
I'm done.
Okay, yes, thank you. Karis?
Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, we cannot hear you. Vice Chair, I believe he's having some technical difficulties.
Sounds like it. You have someone else, you can try to come back to him perhaps in a few seconds. Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Is that Mr. Williams?
Yes, okay, sorry for the problems. I live at 80 Country Road Circle across the street from this property, and I do not want this in any way, shape, form, or fashion in our neighborhood. I noticed when the owner of the property was speaking, he was speaking in some pretty vague terms. And I don't believe anybody on the board would want this property in their neighborhood or next door to them. We did not buy property in a strip mall or by the hospital where these facilities should be. We bought in a stable neighborhood that have neighbors and are neighbors, and we do not want this in our property. It sounds like a money-making deal for everybody except for the neighbors here in our neighborhood. I certainly appreciate the consideration on this.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. Karis?
You're muted, Cars.
How much time do we have, Mr. Peterson?
Well, we're coming up on 1 minute.
Okay. Ashley Owens. Is there a Mr. Jenkins
Hi,
on?
yes. I'm Ashley Owens and I back up to this property. I have a lot of concerns about having people there because first and foremost, it is more of a rural area. There are like snakes in the backyard. I back up to this and I have copperheads in my backyard all the time. My concern is that these intellectually disabled people won't be watched properly and that someone's going to get hurt. I disagree with this completely. And so do all my neighbors.
Is that it? Miss Owens, are you done? We're at the 30-second mark coming up.
Yes, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Karis, we have time for one more.
Mr. Jenkins. Miss Wood. Mr. Brooks.
Hello?
Miss Wood?
Yes. I think my neighbors has basically touched a lot of what we have been discussing for the last few weeks, like the septic system. Of course, we're concerned about the decrease in our property value, parking on the roadway, caregivers, making sure that they are properly trained, roaming patients. We have a lot of swimming pools in our neighborhood. Property upkeep. The owner did mention that, you know, he was informed that us neighbors have been cutting the grass and they've done something about that since, but I sent pictures and emails showing that the grass still hasn't been cut and the neighbors are now refusing to cut it any longer. And like I said, the patient's safety, a caregiver sometimes have to be one-on-one with the patients, and that leaves room for the additional patients to roam. Some of us have children and the possibility of these patients showing up at their windows. And that pretty much covers all my concerns.
All right, thank you, Miss Wood. Thank you, Miss Wood. Karis, that's all we have time for. We're a little over the 10-minute mark.
20 minutes.
Okay, if everyone will remute themselves. Vice Chair, you can proceed.
Yes, thank you. We'll circle back around. Does the board have any additional questions for either the applicant or the staff at this point?
Well, I have one additional question for the applicant. Mr. Parker, my question is, did you invite the tenant or the occupant to this Zoom meeting?
Did I
Mr.
invite
Parker?
the tenant?
Yes, did you invite the tenant or your intended tenant or your occupant to this particular Zoom meeting?
No.
I sent them that the meeting was happening, not the occupants. The residents are people with disabilities, but I did send it to the CEO of Diamonds in the Rough.
Okay, so I would have liked to have heard from a representative from Diamonds in the Rough, just to kind of get an idea of what they are, how they operate their business. We would like to know particular things like that. So that was my question. That's why I asked that question.
Yeah, what I can tell you about them that I know that is they're a not-for-profit organization. They operate several of these houses. In my opinion, they do a very good job at what they're doing. My company works with 50 or 60 of these care agencies. this is, you know, among the better of the organizations. They're very local. They are based in the area. They're not coming in from out of town. They're licensed. There are mechanisms in place at the state, and you know, I don't know if I'm permitted to answer some of the questions that were asked, but you know, are the individuals going to be trained? Is the staff going to be trained? Does the care provider know what they're doing? There's Georgia state licensing boards that license all of those things, and we only lease to organizations that have those requisite licenses, and they have all of those.
Quiet down now, class.
Mr. Parker, I'm going to stop you right there. Ms. Jones, you need to mute your volume, please, your audio. We can still hear you, and I'm not going to continue with this meeting until you're muted. Thank you. Mr. Parker, would you like to continue?
No, ma'am. Happy to answer other questions, but that was all I had.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Jolander, did you have another question for Mr. Parker?
I do not.
Any other board members have any other questions? Mr. Risher?
No, I just don't think this is a very solid proposal. You know, we don't know anything about the organization that's going to staff and run this facility. And really, I think our concern should also be about the people who have developmental disabilities that would be living there and being taken care of. And we have no solid certainty how that will happen. And we have no information as to whether this has been approved by the state of Georgia, by the McIntosh Trail provider. We really don't have a solid proposal. And I want to remind this board that in recent years, we have approved several personal care homes such as proposed, here throughout the county.
All right, thank you, Mr. Risher. Any other questions, board members
I got
for?
a question, Susan.
Yes, Pete.
Hey, so right now, and me just hearing the proposal and hearing the information from the neighbors, would it be a good time to possibly recommend that we table this because we don't know certain things about McIntosh Trail? I would like Diamonds in the Rough to be on to answer some questions. I would also like to know in the future, has the grass been maintained? Has anybody done something? Oh yeah, by the way, I know it's talking about a total of 6 people, but suppose somebody brings 7 or 8. How do we get some recourse there? Do we get, I guess, code enforcement to come fix something? Or do we fix everything here? So would it be a good idea to table this, or do we want to go ahead and take action?
Let's move forward with action, Mr. Pete.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Pete. Any other questions, concerns, questions for staff? Yes, Mr. Parker.
Can I jump in real quick? Just to respond to a couple of the comments generally, and I appreciate all of them, particularly Mr. Risher's recent comments. I think that there is a lot that is known about Diamonds in the Rough. I mean, the zoning board it has been approved by Georgia, and they're not going to be able to move in there if it's not. I know it has been approved. I'm happy to find those licenses and send them to you. They weren't asked of us in this conditional use packet. I think that we prepared all of the information that was asked for. So I would say that our proposal is a solid one and a complete one, and that the determination as to whether the organization that is going to be taking care of these folks is competent at doing so is something that is taken seriously by a number of different governing bodies, include all through Georgia. So I think that information is certainly available, and I would also encourage the board to decide tonight, as these, there are 3, I would of course, be against tabling the proposal. There are 3 real people involved here who would like to live in the community and have been waiting to move into this home.
All right, thank you, Mr. Parker. Any other questions for the applicant or staff? I would point out that the staff recommendation for approval does come with conditions. I know there's a lot of concerns. That's just a comment. If there are no other questions for either the applicant or staff, let's call the case.
Hello, Ms. King. Is it okay if I ask a question?
No, it's not. No, this is not a time for questions. Sorry, we're ready to take a vote on this case. We're getting ready to call the case. If you could just mute your audio.
CU 2001, Hill Oxford 1 LLC of Columbus, Ohio, requests a conditional use for the property located at 55 Country Road Circle and land lot 132 of the 12th District. The property consists of 0.60 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a personal care home in District 5.
Do I have a motion, please?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to deny CU 200-01 conditional use.
And do I have? All right, thank you. All in favor? Please raise your hand. Cars, if you could help me with the count. I can't see everyone.
1, 2, 3. I think we have everyone. Mr. Beam, yes, we have everyone. Unanimous.
Any opposed? I'm opposed on that. And that's the count. The motion carries to deny.
Okay.
All right, Dylander, I'll hand it back to you. We can call the next case.
All right, thank you. Call the next case, please. Harris, I know you have to take some people out. Please do so.
If the participants for the previous case want to exit the meeting, they may do so at this time. But we are going to move on to our next agenda item.
Okay, CU 2003, AT&T of Alpharetta, Georgia, requests a conditional use for the property located to the north of Bill Gardner Road and west of Lester Mill Road, and land lot 204 of the 2nd District. The property consists of 6.51 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a new wireless communications facility in District 2. The case is presented by Chris Monzingo, the county's technical consultant.
Good evening. You're gonna put the slides up for me? Okay, I guess I'll start from there. That's fine if it's not full screen. Good evening. I'm Chris Monzingo. I was retained by the county as a technical consultant to review City Switch's application for a conditional use permit to install a wireless communication facility, a cell tower, a monopole, 150 foot at the referenced parcel. Next slide, please. I don't think I have control. Someone there from the county at planning, please advance the slide.
Sorry, I thought that the slides were going through. Okay. Can everyone see that slide? The
Yes.
heat map?
Yes.
That's fine. We'll go from there. So yeah, AT&T is the tenant. Would be what was called the anchor tenant for this tower. City Switch is actually the owner of the tower, and we'll be leasing 100 by 100 foot parcel of land from the owner there on the reference parcel with an access easement off of Bill Gardner Parkway. The maps you're looking at are the RF propagation maps that were submitted by AT&T. The one on the right is the existing coverage that AT&T has in the area. They're trying to improve the coverage along Bill Gardner Parkway there near that intersection. And there's proposing to put that site there, which is the map on the left, showing the improved coverage in the area once that site goes in. This application is contingent on a variance request that's coming next in the list. There is one tower that is approximately about 0.7 miles to the east of this proposed location, and the Henry County code states that if there's a tower within, you need at least 1 mile separation between towers. There's issues with that due to site separation because AT&T currently has that tower there that's just to the east of the interstate. Placing using the co-located tower, if you go to the next slide, the tower that's existing would be too close to their existing tower. So as you can tell, the reds run together there. So they're going to cause self-interference with themselves. Basically wouldn't really improve the coverage in the area. Would improve the coverage, but not as much as using the proposed site due to interference with their existing site for site separation purposes. So we did run our own propagation analysis, which the next slide, to basically try to confirm what they presented in their coverage maps. So what you're looking at now is the coverage that I ran. So the one on the left again is existing coverage without the new tower. I've added that black rectangle you see there towards the center of the map so that we could do a actual quantitative measurement of coverage improvement in the area, if you will. So the slide on the right again is with the new tower. Next slide. This is with the proposed tower site, not the proposed, but the one that is existing. So we could compare the actual improvement in coverage, assuming that the interference is not being an issue. So just straight numbers of how much improvement we're going to have in the area of need. Next slide. So after evaluation, OCG Omnicom is in agreement with AT&T's map that there is probably a coverage deficiency in the area of need and that the tower is warranted. The proposed site provides significantly more coverage in the area of need than the potential co-location site, discrediting the fact that there will be self-interference if they use that site. So you can see the percentages there in the box there. That's the improvement in the coverage. So there's some signal levels up top that basically equate to outside talking on the cell phone. At the far right at neg 103, neg 98 would be basically in your car, and then neg 90 would be inside your house being able to talk. So as it exists now, basically you would have a hard time talking inside your house in that area there. Outside, most of that area is fairly well covered. It says 77%, and that's of that rectangular box that I had in my coverage map. And you can see the differences in the improvement based on the potential sites. Crown Castle is the cell tower that's existing in the area. Next slide. The staff's recommendation would be to approve this conditional use for a tower at that location, contingent upon the approval of the next case, which is a variance request and the separation requirement for cell towers in the county. And the standard requirements that all other building, fire, safety codes are met. Next slide. Any questions?
Does the board have questions for staff? Okay, there's no questions. There's no questions. We would, we don't have an applicant here. So we'd like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor of this case. Okay. We'd also like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition.
Chairman Nelson, I believe Sanchez is trying to speak.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Sanchez.
I don't know if he's having a connection issue.
Is he speaking for or against?
He communicated in the chat that he was with the company.
Okay.
He is the applicant, I believe.
He's the applicant.
Okay, Mr. Sanchez.
Hello, is that better? Sorry, guys, I was on a desk phone. Is that better?
Okay. All right, what would you like to add to this, Mr.? Will you state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. My name is Michael Sanchez. I work with Tower Engineering Professionals. Our address is 10700 Sykes Place in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're representing City Switch on this proposed tower. So just want to thank Chris. I think he pretty much had all my talking points. We did look at the Crown Castle Tower, and if it worked from a RF perspective, AT&T definitely would have tried to co-locate on that tower. But as Chris said before, it's located so close to that existing tower to the east. If they invested capital into installing a tower there, they would get enough interference to probably maybe even degrade some of the service as it goes closer to the existing cell site to the east. So we needed to go a bit west to be able to provide a little bit of separation. So, but outside of that, I think Chris did a great job, and I'm available for any questions as well.
Okay. Does the board have questions for the applicant? If not, we'd like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor of this case. Karis, do you have anyone wishing to speak in favor?
Chairman Nelson, we did not have anyone to sign up.
Okay.
Oh, I apologize. There was a Mr. Bryce to sign up, but I do not think he is on.
Okay. Okay. If Mr. Bryce is not here, we'd like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition.
There were no people signing up for opposition.
Okay. All right. If that's the case, we would, does the board have additional questions for the applicant or staff?
I have a question for staff.
Okay.
I'm just wondering about the order of these two cases. If this case is contingent on the outcome of the variance request, why are we not doing the variance request first?
Thank you, Ms. King. That's an excellent question. Our consideration when recommending the order of this case is that the variances would be a moot point if the conditional use was simply denied. Whereas to hear the variances after the conditional use, we could simply recommend approval with the condition that the variance would indeed be approved. So there was no good answer, but it seemed the better answer would be to hear the conditional use first.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Stacy.
Okay. Any additional questions for the applicant or staff? If not, we'd like to call the case, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. CU 2003 AT&T of Alpharetta, Georgia requests a conditional use for the property located north of Bill Gardner Parkway and west of Lester Mill Road in land lot 204 of the 2nd District. The property consists of 6.51 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a new wireless communications facility in District 2.
Okay, we heard the case. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of CU 2003 per staff recommendation with the conditions as prescribed by staff.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Unanimous. Call the next case, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. BR 2013, City Switch 2A LLC of Atlanta, Georgia, requests a variance from development standards for property located to the north of Bill Gardner Parkway and west of Lester Mill Road in land lot 204 of the 2nd District. The property consists of 6.51 plus or minus acres, and the request is for relief from wireless communications facility development standards in District 2. The report is presented by Stacy Jordan Rudisil, Chief Planner. And Mr. Chair, at this time, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
Bear with me, please. And is everyone able to see the screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the associated request for the conditional use that was just heard. And as we went through this process, the request did change somewhat. So we wanted to make note that this property is zoned RA, residential agricultural, and as such, a wireless communications facility is permitted with an approved conditional use with the limit of 150 feet in total tower height. So if there's a lightning rod, then that 150-foot limitation would also apply to any appurtenances, such as a lightning rod. At the first, the increase in tower height was a part of the applicant's request, but it was subsequently removed. So we may want to get additional information from the applicant about how they're going to comply with that limitation. It may be that they have no lightning rod, which I find interesting, or it may be that they have a shorter lightning rod with a shorter tower and an elevation for the array that is at 145 feet or something similar. Also, and this is the most important in staff's estimation, the separation requirement of 1 mile between cell towers is absolutely critical and necessary for this proposed tower to go at this location. And we've heard from Mr. Manzingo's report that the closest cell tower is the Crown Castle cell tower that's approximately 0.7 miles, so a little less than 3/4 of a mile away. However, it is not on AT&T's network, and so it's really of no effect at all. So staff was very confident in recommending approval of the variance request, because otherwise, specifically the variance request to eliminate the separation requirements, because otherwise the cell tower would not be able to be placed and the increase in service would be lost. Now, that recommendation is based entirely on the applicant and the fact that they were not able to find a suitable location other than the subject property. So this recommendation is based upon that assertion. but it may be interesting to hear from the applicant as to their experience with finding a suitable location and the fact that this subject property was the only place that this proposed tower could go. Also, and this is something that today staff realized had not been addressed in the staff report, the applicant's letter of intent indicated that they wish to eliminate the landscape requirement around the lease area of the subject property. And that's the 100-foot by 100-foot lease area. And in the letter of intent, it was stated that this subject property was adequately wooded, that it would not make any difference. However, in staff's evaluation, we've noted that the property and the area around the subject property is likely to be subsequently developed in the future, particularly the neighboring property to the east, which was just rezoned last year for a mixed use development. So it's very possible that this area will not remain wooded. And this is the only opportunity for the Zoning Advisory Board to require the landscaping that is indicated by the code. And so staff does recommend denial of the applicant's request to eliminate the landscape strip. And just to reiterate, we recommend approval of eliminating the separation requirement. And we would note that the request to increase the tower height was withdrawn. And Mr. Chair, be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you, Stacy. Does the board have questions for staff?
Not yet. I'm processing.
Okay, all right. All right, if in the meanwhile, will we bring the applicant forward?
Hello, it's Mike Sanchez again.
Okay.
And I can speak to some of Stacy's requests. So the search ring that was provided by AT&T, it was rather small. It was only 0.2 miles in diameter. So there weren't a lot of options in the ring that would, meet size-wise, parcel-wise, used to meet setbacks. So the only candidate we could find that was interested was the candidate that we had identified. And it is just outside of the search ring. So there weren't too many, there weren't any other candidates that were interested in leasing space to City Switch to build this tower. So the area that the landlord we found was our best bet. So in terms of landscaping, I might ask, so if they are going to develop the property to the east, I believe the landlords, so the ground landlord's property is all wooded. So wouldn't that still stay wooded? I mean, I don't believe his property would change, right? So we just, we would like to eliminate having to provide landscaping that's going to be shorter than the trees that are next to it. I mean, you will clear, but then, we're going to put landscaping that's shorter than the existing foliage and, terrain around it. So that is the reason that we asked for the use of existing vegetation and tree cover as opposed to landscaping. So, and once again, there's even if it does develop to the east, the landlord's property still has tree cover. So I don't know if that's going to allow it to be seen from Lester Mill Road.
Okay. Thank you. Does the board have questions for the applicant?
Yes, I have one question about the landscaping. Because it looks like that from the aerial photographs that this parcel is very heavily wooded. Could you not leave a 10-foot strip all around it, say using existing vegetation that could be matched with some lower level new vegetation to form a barrier, because there are several parcels adjacent to this that are yet to be developed that would be impacted if all of the trees were knocked down.
Certainly. We could add that buffer, the landscape buffer. Yes.
Okay. Any additional questions, Mr. Richard?
I would just ask staff if something like that would fulfill the 10-foot buffer requirement.
Yes, sir, Mr. Risher. The itself does require a 15-foot landscape buffer. So if it's the pleasure of the zoning advisory board to require a 10-foot buffer, then that would need to be a part of a motion to approve.
Okay, I'm sorry. I meant to say the 15 foot since that is what is required. I did not intend to have it cut down 5 more feet. So let's leave it at 15 if that's possible.
Yes, sir.
Any additional questions for the applicant?
Yes, one concerning the landscape. I know the area well, so yes, it is buried in the trees, but you're leasing 100 by 100 square foot area, or not square foot, but 100 by 100 area. Does your fenced area, is that out to that border, or is that 15 feet in from the edge?
Yeah, most likely they're probably going to build out 50 by 50, right around there, 50, 55. So they're not going to do the full 100. At 50 feet by 50 feet, you can still have the AT&T applicant as well as additional co-locators. So more than likely, they'll probably just build out 50 by 50.
Okay. So you'll have an extra 25 feet on each side that will remain if we did not require the landscaping. It would, if we required you to keep it wooded, that could be the landscape barrier potentially. Because yeah, trying to take down that wood and then put in new stuff seems a little strange. Because it is still in the middle of the property that the owner you're leasing from has. So he'd have to sell his property or develop it before he even got to that point. So I don't see a great need other than maybe requiring you to keep that either wooded or at the point of removing the wood to replace with vegetation, the landscape barrier afterwards. That's my comment.
All right, thank you, Mr. VM. Any additional questions? Okay. If there's no, Ms. King?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Delander.
Okay. If there's no additional questions, we'd like to allow 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor. Okay, no one's coming forward. Karis, do we have anyone speaking in opposition?
No, sir, we didn't have anyone sign up for this particular case.
Okay. Bennett, we don't have anyone speaking in favor or opposition. Staff, do we have any additional questions for the applicant? I'm sorry, board.
I have one additional question for staff. I just want to be clear on the height request. That's off the table?
Yes, ma'am. So the applicant has notified staff that they are withdrawing their request to increase the tower height from 150 feet to any other height. And they have indicated that they will comply with the overall height limitation of 150 feet.
All right, so I guess we do need to go back to the applicant because I don't think he ever explained how he's going to do that.
Well, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I missed that. So,
That's okay.
So our client said that they would just put in a 150-foot monopole tower, no lightning rod. The AT&T antennas are lower on the tower. So that is a solution that told me that they were going to follow. So, but yeah, they will not go above 150 feet for any of her.
Okay. Okay, thank you for answering that. And then, because it's not in the documentation that I'm looking at, unless I'm looking in the wrong place, Stacy, I just want to clarify the landscape requirement request.
Yes, and I apologize that that was not included in the staff report. The request is eliminate the 15-foot wide landscape strip requirement that would go around the perimeter of the leasing area. And the applicant indicated in their letter of intent that they request to eliminate this because of the heavily wooded nature of the site. Staff's evaluated this and we disagree, and we do recommend denial of the request to eliminate the landscape strip requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions for the applicant or staff? Okay, if there's no additional questions, we would like to call the case, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. VR 2013, City Switch 2A, LLC of Atlanta, Georgia, requests a variance from development standards for property located north of Bill Gardner Parkway and west of Lester Mill Road in land lot 204 of the 2nd District. The property consists of 6.51 plus or minus acres, and the request is for relief from wireless communications facility development standards in District 2.
Okay, we've heard the case. Do we have a motion?
I do. This case gives me a headache. I'm gonna go right down by the book on this one, and if the county commissioners want to tinker with it, they can later. I am not. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve, go with staff recommendation approval on VR 2013 and denial of the request to eliminate the landscape barrier, that 15-foot wide. That's just insurance for the future, and that's my motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
A second. Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor? Motion carried, unanimous. Thank you. Call the next case, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Under rezoning, RZ 2005, Tim Jones Properties Incorporated of Brookhaven, Georgia, requests
Rezoning.
from R3 single family residence to RS residential suburban for property located north of Mount Carmel Road and east of Mill Road in land lots 142 and 115 of the 6th District. The property consists of 96.0 plus or minus acres, and the request is for single family homes and condominiums in District 2, and the staff report is presented by Kenta Lanham, Planner 2.
Thank you.
Chorus, is everyone who wants to speak and listen in on this for this case in the meeting currently? Good evening once again, Chair and board members.
The
rezoning request, excuse me, let me share my screen. And can everyone see the PowerPoint presentation? Can everyone see that PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. The rezoning request in front of you is for property located north of Mount Carmel Road and west of Mill Road, as highlighted in your exhibit books, as well as on the screen. The property is currently zoned R3, single family residence, and is 96.0 plus or minus acres. The future land use designation for the subject property is medium density residential, which allows for up 1.26.0 dwelling units per acre net. The applicant is requesting the property to be rezoned from R3, single family residential, to RS, residential suburban, to be developed for a mixed use, a mixed single family residential and multifamily condominium development. The subject property on March 21st, 2017 was denied a rezoning request from R1 single family residence to R5 single family residence, but was approved R3, its current zoning designation. And that was with 9 conditions as approved by the Board of Commissioners. A concurrent comprehensive plan amendment request to change the future land use map designation of the property from low density residential to medium density residential was denied. The future land use map, is everyone still able to view that PowerPoint? Okay, thank you. Not sure why it disconnected. Can everyone?
Yes, there it is now.
Thank you. Yes, the future land use map was updated as part of the Henry County Cities Joint 2040 Comprehensive Plan, and that was approved on October 16th, 2018. The future land use map designation at that time was updated for the subject property and the surrounding properties from low density to medium density residential. Again, its current future land use map designation. The applicant is proposing 222 single family homes and 104 condominiums, totaling 326 units. The proposed density is 5.44 dwelling units per acre net and is supported by the current future land use designation. Staff has evaluated the request and several aspects of the site, including but not limited to the future land use map designation, the current zoning of the surrounding properties, and availability to sewer. Given the aforementioned characteristics of the property, this creates a reasonable basis for granting the rezoning request from R3 to RS. And as such, staff recommends approval of the request with 9 conditions. Given the number of conditions, we did have to split up this recommendation slide to 2. And these are the first 4. These are the last 5. And those conditions are on the screen. Thank you, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kendall. Does the board have questions for staff?
I do not, Delander, not at this time.
Okay. Okay. If not, we'd like the applicant to come forward, please.
Hello, I'm here, Kathy Jones.
Okay. Ms. Jones, do you have anything that you would like to add to staff recommendation?
Yes, my name is Kathy Jones. I'm Vice President of Tim Jones Properties. My address is 3379 Kyleton Court, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. One of the things that wasn't mentioned and it wasn't put in the proposal, what we're proposing here is the Rosewood Active Adult Community. And when we talk about active adult community, we're talking about communities that offer relatively maintenance-free living, independent living residences. As the baby boomers mature, active adult communities are becoming more and more popular in the US. These new mature adults do not see themselves as old folks. So the idea of a living in a community that offers or even facilitates an active lifestyle is appealing to them. Ditching exterior home maintenance chores frees residents of active adult communities to enjoy their mature years and to do more of the things they love. These communities are often near shopping, restaurants, and local attractions, and close to major thoroughfares. Communities for active adults make it easy to enjoy life each day. The Rosewood Active Adult Community is designed and targeted for current residents of Henry County who like living in Henry County and want a low-maintenance community with rich amenities to locate in. The Rosewood Active Adult Community will have less maintenance. Homeowners who are tired of lawn care, painting, and exterior upkeep, low or no maintenance living is appealing. The Rosewood Active Adult Community offers right-sized living space. Many people find they use only a few rooms in their homes on a regular basis. These residences will be first-class construction with modern, stylish finishes of granite countertops, wood floors, tile, and the latest modern lighting and fixtures. Homeowners will have a variety of floor plans to choose from to meet their individual desires. Living in the Rosewood Active Adult Community, homeowners will be surrounded by their peers. In an active adult community, your neighbors are your peers, so you are at similar stages in life with similar interests. Neighborhoods are relatively quiet and friendly. The Rosewood Active Adult Community will be rich in convenient amenities. You will have easy access to amenities like community clubhouse, fitness center, pickleball courts, gaming courts, walking paths, grilling stations, dog parks, and swimming pools. You will also find opportunities for socializing through involvement in HOA events and groups. We do not see this community as a community that, we see this community as a community that will add value to Henry County and also supply a need for the residents of Henry County. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Does the board have questions for the applicant?
Not at this time.
Okay. Mr. Pete, were you keeping a time on that? Do you have a? Okay.
Yeah, that was 6 minutes and 36 seconds.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. You have 6 minutes and 36 seconds remaining.
Okay. We would like to allot those 6 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor of this case. Do we have anyone wishing to speak in favor of the case, Karis?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. If not, we'd like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition.
Okay, sir, we're gonna start with Miss Stephanie.
Okay.
Hi, I'm assuming Stephanie Sloan.
Excuse me, Stephanie, before you start, Miss Yolanda, did you want to speak in favor or against?
In favor.
Okay, Chairman Nelson, can we
Yes,
revisit?
we have 6 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor. Go ahead, Ms. Yolanda.
Hi, I'm going to be quick. Initially, I was against, but now that I understand what the plans are, I am very interested and attracted to an active adult community. My husband and I are of a certain age, and it would be great to be able to stay in our community as we want to downsize because we don't need the space. But if we can live in Henry County in a beautiful community within our area, having access, then this is something I'm in favor of because it allows me to be able to be in a community, as she said, of my peers, without having to worry about teenagers and things of that nature. However, I am concerned about the traffic on Mills Road and Mount Carmel Road, where it's already dense. I'm currently backed up to Mills Road, and that is my greatest concern. How would that be laid out? How will it be accommodate the current traffic and the added traffic by adding this neighborhood? I am against the condos.
Okay.
And that's my position.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this case? Okay, if not, carries, we'd like to move to opposition. We have 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition.
Yes, sir. Okay, Miss Stephanie, you can go ahead.
Good evening. This is Stephanie Sloan. I live in the gates of Rowanshire, which is approximately a quarter of a mile from the proposed land use that we're speaking of. I am vehemently against this development. What Ms. Jones, Ms. Jones did not say is how many of the 326 units would be used for the Rosewood Active Adult Community. The remainder of that, not knowing that, I'm opposed regardless. But not knowing that, I think it's false pretense for the person who spoke in favor of, like, it made it almost seem like it was going to be all active adult community, and I don't think that's the case. We have a school system that's already inundated with overcrowdedness that can't be accommodated. That's the Dutchtown School District. I served as the president of the school council there for a number of years, vice president for a number of years. So I've been very engaged. Traffic is horrendous in the area already. And besides that, it's zoned for R3, which is what our community is and the community surrounding us. And we don't want anything less than that. Looking at the map that was shown on the PowerPoint, it's just going to be a crowded, overcrowded area of homes that's going to bring a different footprint to our area that is not welcome.
Okay, anything else, Ms. Sloan?
That's it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, we would, anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
I would. Do you have Stacy Free down?
Yes, go ahead, Stacy.
Yes, my name is Stacy Free. I live at 470 Fields Road, just off of Chambers. This Rosewood active adult community, where did that come from? That I haven't read anything about that, so I don't appreciate having something proposed that I have no inkling about. Where did this come from? I don't know. Not good. Also, encroachment for me is changing low density agriculture to medium density RS, residential suburban. Don't like it. I'm objecting. This development is just going to set the stage for condos to be lined up and down Mount Carmel and Chambers Road. And there's future use land right next to it. And we all know the same stuff's going to go up next to there. There's another future use, I think, on Chambers down by the CVS. We all know that's what it's going to be. It's just the beginning of the end. And I don't understand why we're trying to be a large, modern city. Are we welcoming urban growth and development? You know, I've had to listen to Commissioner Thomas and her brownstone townhomes that she's proposed, and listen to other commissioners say things like it or not, this is the way it's going to be. I'm an established resident and I don't have to like it. And there's a reason why I moved here and continue to live here. And so I don't like the attitude that the commissioners currently have. They're claiming that millennials want to live, work, and play in Henry County. The west side of I-75 is nothing more than a distribution truck stop. Those jobs pay $15 an hour, and that's not going to support the price point for condo living.
Ma'am, can I stop you for a second? Can I stop you for a second? This is, you have 10 minutes. You're using up 10 minutes of time that's opposing this case. Please keep your subject matter to this particular case.
Okay, yeah, I've waited 2 hours. So what's going to happen, these condos, in my opinion, they're not going to be owned. They're going to be rented eventually. And, you know, I believe the school system that is going to affect is Luella, not Dutchtown. And I see where there's 26 trailers that are going to have to be added for this development. The quality of life for me as an established resident in District 2 has reached all-time low. The stress of congestion is overwhelming at this point, and this new Rosewood thing is beyond me. I object.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Mr. Pete, how much time do we have remaining?
We got 5 minutes and 5, 4, 3 seconds.
Okay. We have 5 minutes for anyone else wishing to speak in opposition.
Yes, Chair. We have others that would like to speak. Dr. Blankson. Am I
Yes, good
pronouncing that
evening.
correctly?
Yes, good. Yes, that's correct. This is Dr. Blankson, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'll be short. I am opposed, as you've heard from others. There is concern, great concern about the impact on traffic, and also there's concern about the actual residents who will be living there and what the impact on the school district will be. And so we would really encourage you to take these concerns into advisement in making decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Yes, sir. Mr. Jenkins. Miss Little. Rodney Carrington. Mr. Scott.
Yes. Hi, this is Rodney Carrington.
Go ahead, sir. You may speak.
Yes, I'm just would like to. Yes, I oppose this development due to the fact that I believe it should stay at R3. I believe those homes are too tight. There's going to be too many houses in there. She didn't get into the situation with the home. She just stayed on the senior development. We would like to know more about the homes as well.
Anything else, Mr. Carrington?
No, that'll be it.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
We have Don and Jenny. Miss Whitley.
Yes, I'm opposed to this for all the reasons that everybody else previously stated: traffic, congestion. The previous Tim Jones properties are 90% already rental properties. The builder themselves have proven themselves to be unethical and do a smoke and mirrors. And again, I'm opposed to it for all reasons. We don't have enough time to go through it, but I'm opposed.
Thank you. Mr. Pete, do we have additional time?
We have 2 minutes remaining.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Miss Adrian Johnson.
Yes, I am opposed to bringing more traffic to the area. This is a terrible idea, will lower our property values, and I've been a property owner here for many years, and the schools are overcrowded and the roads and the traffic is terrible. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Chairman Nelson, I think I've called all the names that I had.
Okay. All right.
This is Raymond. I wanted to speak.
Okay. Mr. Raymond?
Yes. My name is George Raymond. I live at 1091 Rowanshire Circle in McDonough, Georgia. I'm the president of the Rowanshire Homeowners Association. The Rowanshire Homeowners Association is adamantly opposed to this development, proposed as an RS. The Rowanshire development was developed as an R3 development. There are at least 6 other developments within a 5-mile radius of Rowanshire. The price points of our homes are over $200K to $300 plus. New development will bring our values down for our homes. We're worried about developers like Tim Jones and other developments. They should not be allowed to line their pockets by squeezing low price homes and condos into tiny lots to get better return on investment. This will also open the door to other developments like this, which will not be limited to adult living. With 5.4 homes built on a lot, you will not be able to have adequate parking on these individual lots. If the lots like these are single family homes, you're bound to have 1, 2, maybe 3 cars on that home, which means there's gonna be 600 additional cars on our streets. Again, I go back to the developers. We should not allow developers like Tim Jones to come into our areas and squeeze subdivisions to make money. It should not be allowed, and the board should disapprove it, and the zoning board should also disapprove it. Again, the Rowan Shire HOA and our neighbors are totally in opposition of this development.
Okay. Mr. Pete, do we have any additional time?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right. Does the board have additional questions for the applicant or staff?
Yes, I have some questions.
Okay.
I guess for the representative from Tim Jones, and my question is, on the site plan, it shows the condos or townhouses with frontage on Mount Carmel Road, but what about the balance of the property, which would be, I guess, detached single-family homes that you're proposing also to be RS? Could that not be left as R3 where it abuts the Rowan Shire subdivision?
That was hard to understand. I couldn't quite understand what you were saying. Can you clarify just a little bit?
Yes, what I said was that that the balance of the property beyond where you're showing the townhomes or the condominiums on the site plan, can the area that's north and abutting that proposed area, could that remain as R3? Just a suggestion.
Okay, hold 1 second. Okay, so we do have 2 different products there, and one is single family attached and the other one is single family detached. And they pretty much are going to be priced approximately the same. And the whole parcel is up for zoning. We're not breaking the parcel up into 2 separate zonings. It's one whole 95-acre tract.
Any additional questions for Ms. Jones? Well, being that you're saying that, Ms. Jones, I have a question, and that is, there was some concern about the remains of the property. You spoke on the assisted living, or excuse me, not the assisted living. You spoke on the senior living, okay? What would be the remains of the property?
What we spoke, the entire parcel is going to be Rosewood Active Adult Community. It's
Okay.
designed for the entire 95-acre parcel to be developed as an active adult community. It's not going to be broken up into, it's 2 different types of homes, but they're all Rosewood Active Adult Community.
I got you. Now, what percentage of those properties, or can you break down for me how these properties will be built? What's the square footage from 1,000 square feet to whatever?
Currently, based on the future land use, they have to be a minimum 1,800 square feet.
Okay. And what's going to be your max at this plan?
Currently, we were looking at a max of around 2,500 square feet.
Okay. And do you have a percentage?
We haven't put together the mix at this point. And when it comes to the single family detached, there are going to be a variety of plans that the homeowners can choose from. We'll go in, we'll build some spec homes, or the builder will build some spec homes. But then, just like in any other development, if you come in, you get a pre-sale, you can choose from the plans we have that will be available on the lots that will be available. So we can't really give you a mix at this time.
Okay. And you spoke of detached and attached. Attached, what's the square footage, or what do you expect those square footages to be?
The current zoning with the Future Land Use Act is, can you hold 1 second?
Yes.
We're looking at the single family detached, maybe 1,400 to 2,200 square feet.
Okay. Okay. Any additional questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Okay. Mr. Ian.
As far as, getting adults in there, how do you not get children at the same time?
Well, the neighborhood is the Rosewood Active Adult Community, and that's how it's going to be marketed, as an active adult community. And we looked at some of the market studies in the US, and we found that you really can't distinguish, children and non-children. But when you market that to our active adults, we feel like we will attract active adults.
But there's no way to really, guarantee that. Your HOA, is that for the whole property, or is it different for the condos and different for the houses, or how will you arrange that?
The HOA is going to be for the whole thing, because we have the grilling stations, fire pits, dog park, the clubhouse, the pools, the pickleball courts, the gaming courts. All of that is for the entire community.
And with that, you said everything would be maintained by the HOA, all the landscaping and everything?
Yes.
And that's for both the houses and the condos?
Yes, that's our plan right now, yes.
And if, it's, the one thing that always concerns me is the plans are now, and if we kind of vote on things with plans for now, but they're not written into a resolution, it worries me because plans change. Are there garages for all the units, including the condos?
Yes, minimum 2-car garages.
And what would be the smallest bedroom count you'd have in the condos?
2 bedrooms.
Okay.
Mr. VM, if I may?
Sure.
If it pleases the board can certainly add conditions that would maybe, in reference to maybe age-targeted communities and such, similar to how the board added that condition for the Highway 155 rezoning that was heard back in August.
Sure, and I'm just trying to bring the points out here. All right, I think that's it for now.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant or staff? Okay. If there's no further questions, we would like to call the case, please.
RZ 2005, Tim Jones Properties Incorporated of Brookhaven, Georgia, requests a rezoning from R3, single family residence, to RS, residential suburban, for property located north of Mount Carmel Road and east of Mill Road in land lots 142 and 115 of the 6th district. The property consists of 96.0 plus or minus acres, and the request is for for single-family homes and condominiums in District 2.
Okay. We've heard the case. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, approval of RZ 2005 with the staff recommended conditions, adding an additional that this will in fact be marketed to as an active adult community, I'm guessing 55 and over.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second. Any discussion?
Is the public allowed to discuss?
No, not at this point. All in favor?
But the motion had a guess in it, not a definite age.
No. All in favor? Okay. All opposed?
Mr. Chair, hold on. Can I ask a question right quick, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
I heard a motion. Was it seconded?
Yes, it was second, and
Okay,
I asked for discussion.
Okay, I didn't hear that. Okay, I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
we have a motion and a second, and any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay. We have, at this point, we have a tie vote. I have 2 votes as of now. All opposed? I'm lacking a vote. I have a 2-to-1 vote at this point. Mr. Pete?
Yeah, you didn't see, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Opposed? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me? Opposed?
Yeah, you opposed?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a 2-to-1 vote. That vote will go to the chair. We're voting in favor. So the motion carries 3-2.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kenta.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a motion for this meeting to adjourn. I
So
believe that.
moved.
Okay. Thank you very much. Continue to be safe.
Have a great night.
Thank you.